I want you to stop the recording.
You will remind me to.
All right, so you see down here.
Right here, stop the
No,
video.
No, that's video. I'm recording this over here.
Okay. Please,
sorry, yeah.
please.
Well, I haven't called the roll yet. Thank you. No, I was just starting the recording is what I said. Sorry about that. So first I'm just going to announce on the roll for here. So this is a regular monthly meeting of the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners and the High Rock Homes LLC meeting. And I'm going to call the roll. Reg Foster is here.
Ed Scheidler is here.
Penny Third here.
Janice Bennett is here.
And Eleanor Evans, unfortunately, is on vacation. One of those things that happened in August somehow, and won't be joining us tonight. But we have a quorum here for commissioners. And I just wanted to note for the record that we're conducting this as a hybrid meeting under Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which allows us to do so up until March 31st of 2025. And it was extended at that point in time by Governor Healy. And also we'll note for the record that adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Secretary by the Secretary of the Needham Housing Authority, Ms. Gosman, by preparing public notice dated August 14th, setting forth the date and time and place of the meeting and filing it with the clerk of the town of Needham. So we're going to come to the agenda. I think I have two announcements. One is I think we have set a new world record for the size of the board packet. I don't remember getting one as big as this, and I wanted to commend Cheryl for putting it together with, just about 99% perfection. It was a really heavy lift. I know she got it out to everybody late by our goal, standard, and she takes those standards very seriously, but it was a truly a daunting task, especially in August, especially since we've had some symptoms running around the office this month, which has made for quite a juggle, not counting vacation juggle and everything else. So I just want to thank you, Cheryl, for doing that.
Thank you.
And the second is that we have our guests with the Cambridge Housing Authority here. They're our consulting team for the PRI. And I want to propose to our commissioners that after resident input, we take agenda item E out of order and do it first so that they can jump right into that. And then when we're finished with all our questions and everything with the Cambridge folk, we can let them go home.
Point of order, Reg.
Yeah, sure.
I thought we had a mutual agreement on the phone that the monthly business was going to get taken care of prior to.
Well, we do, but I'm asking for dispensation since, they are here tonight. They are charging us hourly rate while they wait for the, to start the meeting. And so I do believe we're going to get through the month business. And I'm just saying we're going to take one of the monthly business items out of order. In other words, we're going to be doing, is that what you're suggesting?
No, I also thought it was agreed upon that we would hold special meetings for the CHA's presentations. Didn't we come to a mutual agreement upon that?
So I don't think we have a fixed rule. This is just to address this BH&A recommendation for which to go forward with their contract. So it's not like an offsite or anything else like that. It's not. Hopefully, it's not something like what happened in May, which is what I'm thinking you're thinking of here. So
exactly, yeah.
We're not expecting.
I think it's more important we get the housing authority business at hand into play. So, but if you say if it's not going to take that long, you know.
Well, I don't want to jinx us, but I believe that's true. So we'll try it out if something, we're definitely need to get through our regular business. I totally agree with you there on that. So, okay, so our first item of our regular business is resident input. Sue, I think we can hear you. do you have anything, you report, or I don't see Jessica with us yet here?
Okay, yes, actually, a couple things. Jess, I know went to the Quincy Housing Authority today. I guess for some training, Mass Union was down there. I guess working on trying to get Quincy's Quincy's tenant organization, up and running, whatever their issues are. And so Jess and somebody else I know went down there. I have not heard anything more. But I'm assuming that Jess will let me know. I just left her a message to, come on if she wants to. I myself was at a Zoom meeting earlier this month with Mass Union. And there are so many housing authorities that are having major issues with their resident organizations and their administrative staff. And I just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of laid into everybody and said, there is a chain of command when you have issues. I said, you go to your ED or staff member first, a couple times. If nothing gets resolved, then you can go to your local tenant organization if that's the way you want to do it. And then you can, or you can go directly to the commissioners, if nothing has ever been resolved. And I said, you got to get over this fear of retribution. I said, first of all, an executive director cannot evict you, so to speak. They can get the process going, but it is up to the court to make the final decision. And I said, as far as, encouraging your members to go to the board meetings, you got to be transparent. You got to tell them when they are, where they're going to be, give them an agenda. And I said, most important, I said, you've got to get over any personal issues that you've got with your neighbors or something like that for the good of the community. So Angela Duke was there from Mass Law Reform, and Sarah were there, and they were both nodding their heads up and down like crazy, But anyway, but then we had our own, our first resident meeting that we've had in quite a while. And again, it's been an upheaval where we are struggling. We've only had 3 or 4 people that are interested in coming every month, and it's the same complaints over and over again. Everybody is so verklempt about this whole reconstruction and moving, and and we just and even with Cheryl and you dropping in a few weeks ago, Reg, they're not getting it. But then again, they're not coming to these meetings either. So, there's so many questions that we as resident board members, we can't answer. Because, that's how rumors get started. And these folks have got to start coming to these meetings if they want to get the straight poop. But anyway, that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Great. And Janice, are you having a technical support issue here?
No, my
just
screen
had-
keeps blocking, going out, that's all.
I'm not sure it's happening on this end. We're seeing you loud and clear on all of our monitors here, so.
Oh,
So-
it just went out again.
No, we see
So
you.
maybe we have a slow connection. That might be it. We got both of our, if you turn your video off,
Turn the video.
that's what takes the
As long as
bandwidth.
you're recording that.
Yeah, I
meeting.
am recording. You've passed the host
Oh,
already, so.
So what should I do? Just sign
Okay.
out?
See if that, let's try this out, Janice, and in a few minutes, see if it makes any difference here. So I'll just do stop the video, your
Okay,
video.
it went blank again. My screen is blank.
Oh, no, I guess you can't stop your video because you're running
Yeah,
the,
the meeting.
yeah, okay.
We can see you though, Janice, even though your
Yes.
screen is blank.
Okay, you were back for a second, now you're gone. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're back.
I like the shirt.
Thank you. Okay, we're good now.
Are we good? Reg fixed it.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Yeah, how's that? That's good, yeah. I'm gonna turn this
That's great.
video off. And I will FaceTime, I wanted to. All right, we won't fuss with it here. Can you hear us all right, Janice, as well?
Yes,
Good. All right, great. So, Ross, I think you're the only other residents here, so, do you have any input to input?
Yeah, thanks very much. I'd just like to follow up on what Sue said about people complaining. I noticed that the select board has been had revised their code of conduct. And it included things, pretty basic things like have a level volume. Don't use inappropriate language. Don't talk over other people. So the first few meetings that we've had, a lot of people felt that they would not come to resident meetings if it continued to be unpleasant, and I observed when I started going to town meeting and committee meetings and select board meetings and stuff, that there's not just these rules, but there's also a tone that everybody adopts, which is polite. You talk, then I talk, and so forth. And we're going to try and work that out, because everybody seems to want to interject. They're so eager to say something that they're always making comments, and it makes it difficult for people that don't like that. So we're going to try and respond to the comments that the residents have made about that. We have I've been talking with staff for a year and a half about starting up the LTO, and they've had information like how to start the LTO, which is published by the union. And we finally had a few meetings over the last month. Now, I don't want to mention anybody's name. Can I mention somebody's name?
Just giving examples, I don't think, probably want to be, we're in a public meeting here, so it's being recorded, so. But,
All right,
do you
well,
use
I'm just saying that
examples?
we have had meetings. The first one involved a staff person and 2 residents and myself. And that resulted in the staff hearing one of the complaints and responded to it. And it also gave us an idea that all of us an idea that we're ready. We're ready to go and do something. We held I called the union, talked with a person there for a while. And actually I left a message. They called back. We had a conversation, and then Sarah, the executive director, called, and we scheduled a Zoom meeting for here. We held that with about 5 or 6 people. We had a follow-up meeting the next day, and then we put out some notices for what we're calling a startup meeting. And it really wasn't intended to be an initiation of the election committee or the nomination process, because we weren't sure what we wanted to do. We needed to talk about it, whether we wanted to have a residents association or an LTO or residents advisory board, or whether we needed an organization at all, and if it would be enough to have understand what the rights of individuals were. But we had a discussion and decided to go the whole route pretty much with an LTO. And there was a meeting today in Quincy, and there were let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 residents that were there. We had the strongest contingent of any other housing authorities. And it was very healthy to go to a meeting like that. They're very positive and supportive. And then I have to come back here and listen to complaints of residents. And it's I don't want to be discouraged. I'm not going to be discouraged, okay? I'm going to be positive. And so we'd like to proceed and figure out, we don't have enough people to be on the election committee or the nomination committee, whatever it's called, and serve. So we need to figure that out. And
So let me just let you know that the 3 minutes have gone by
Oh,
here. and,
okay.
Uh,
Go.
Get the board package until last night. I've only been reading it in the last hour. I did notice that the annual plan includes $18 million for Linden Chambers.
We'll be addressing that when
Okay.
when we
Yeah,
get
that's-
there.
That's what I was asking for. And I'd like to know if there's any warrant articles that you prepare, the Housing Authority is going to be, or anything to do with the Housing Authority that's going to be appearing on the fall town meeting.
No, there's not.
No, okay. All right.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the effort that I just heard about from you, Ross, and from Sue, and making the effort to try to get the resident association going. I don't know if you have any comment you want to make sure on that.
Sure. So I also attended the meeting with Sarah Burns, a Zoom meeting here in the community room on July 27th. And Ross, of course, was here. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other people, 2 people on Zoom. It was a very good meeting. Sarah was very informative.
Mhm.
And you know, I encourage the continuation of that. I offered to pay for a facilitator if they need that to help with the conversations that aren't really you know, get a little disorganized. But I support your efforts 100% and will continue to do so. You know, you have to agree to disagree, continue to discuss and debate, and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, it was appreciated by everybody that you were there. You could say that you were sending some staff people there, and when you came, it was a real kind of a boost.
Great.
Thank you.
I wanted to follow up on your suggestion of a facilitator, if we needed a facilitator.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that nuance, paid facilitator. I
Mhm.
didn't catch that.
So
That was
let's
kind of-
follow up on that. It sounds like a good idea. And sometimes, often you only need it for a few meetings and everybody gets the idea, the hang of it, how to do it, you
Right.
know, and it has, it's good to have a neutral person there. So that's great. And I would just offer I'm going to start promoting the Cambridge people here while it always takes a minute or two to do here. And and I want to make, while they're joining the meeting here, and there we go. Yep, and one more here. Still thinking about that. Here we go, one more. I'm gonna make a comment too. I haven't been around things as long as Cheryl has, you know, and as much experience as she did. But I have had experience with this sort of situation with a development project in the works, or even 2 development projects in the works when I was down in Marion. And I really encourage you to keep at it and give it time. It takes a while to get the culture built and get the habits built, and people are fear of the unknown is the worst fear of all. They're going to, you know, and we just need to keep talking. You know, we'll keep meeting periodically, every month or 2, and we will have Q&A, and we'll make sure we're as transparent as we can possibly be. And you know, people don't like change. I don't care who you are. People don't like change, even if it's going to be a really good one. Going through it is not necessarily anybody's cup of tea. So we just have to be patient here. And meanwhile, let's see, can we ask the Cambridge people to unmute yourself and turn on your videos here. Great. So I'd like to welcome Margaret Moran on the left, who is the principal in charge and overall in charge of the Cambridge Housing Authority Planning and Development Department, and is also our overall principal in charge of this project, and we have our senior project manager, Natalie Jansen, with us as well, and also we have Chris Moyer, who's working, who also is a very important part of the team. We are going to go to agenda item E. For those of you keeping track here, we're also probably going to, there's D4, the NHA federal 5-year plan. I want to touch on that before we ask our guests to get back to their families here. So the first agenda item is the Linden Chambers redevelopment project. Normally I make that presentation or update, status update, and my status update is that there's not much new to report other than everybody's heads down and with pedal to the metal, working on the schematic design and driving towards a new set of meetings that we will have with the residents and with the neighbors and the town sometime in the October time period when we publish the schematic design. But Margaret and Natalie, do you want to add anything to that?
I think you covered it, Reg. You know, where everybody's working really hard to progress the design forward.
And it's, really hard work to kind of fit it into the budget and get something that's nice here for everybody. And I appreciate what the entire BH&A team are doing, as well as the Cambridge team here. So that brings us to number E2, the Seabed Preservation Modernization Project, and a report of the selection committee who's been evaluating proposals that we received, I think in May or late May or early June. And let me turn it over to what, you, Natalie, are you going to take that, or is it Margaret?
I will take this one. So hi, everybody. It's great to see the board again. So what I'm going to do is go through the board item related to seeking the Board of Commissioners approval to select Bargman, Henry, and Archetype Inc. as the lead architectural team for the modernization of Seabed's Way and Captain Robert Cook Drive, and to give Cheryl Gosman as the executive director the authorization to sign a contract with BH+A for the work, the A&E work at Seabed's Way and Captain Robert Cook. So, as Reg mentioned,
just summarize, since this is going to go into the minutes, just like a couple of sentences of what that is, just to set the whole context of why you're making this report.
Of what is the?
We're redoing the repositioning of the two federal developments and then where we are in the process. We've been working on it for a year or two now so far.
Right.
So I just stage is all I'm trying to suggest there.
Yep. So I'll start off with the general context, which is so when the CHA was first brought on as development consultants, one of our first activities that we worked on with the NHA staff and also the NHA Board of Commissioners was looking at the overall federal portfolio. So that's Seabed's Way, Captain Robert Cook Drive, and High Rock Estates, and looking to see what different repositioning options were available through the Department of Housing and Urban Development in order to essentially boost operating revenue at these properties and making that operating revenue available to allow for the modernization of these properties, which is much needed. So as part of that, we did a financial analysis. We also worked with another architectural firm by the name of Dietz & Company in order to assess the conditions of those three properties. And so through a long process with the NHA staff and the Board of Commissioners, a decision was made to pursue a blended RAD, rental assistance demonstration, in Section 18 construction blend application. It's a whole alphabet soup of a name for a repositioning program for Seabed's Way and Captain Robert Cook Drive. And so in order to proceed with that, construction needs to occur at the properties. in order to bring the properties up to the RAD 20-year standard. And this is also a great opportunity to address longstanding physical issues at both Seabeds Way and Captain Robert Cook Drive. And so while we're working on that first repositioning application for those two properties, the NHA also put out a request for proposal for an architectural team for the modernization of Captain Robert Cook Drive and Seabeds Way. The expected construction scope for the project is $20 million. For the renovation, that's roughly $260,000 per unit. And after issuing this RFP, which I can go into greater detail, but I remember that we met earlier in the spring to go over it. So the proposals were due on June 7th. The NHA received 5 proposals from qualified architectural firms. Those firms were Abacus Architects and Planners, Bergman Henry and Archetype, Meander Studio, Studio G Architects, and Winslow Architects. So just to give a brief overview of the A&E selection process, there was a selection committee that was formed in order to select or to make a proposal to the Board of Commissioners for the final architectural team. That selection committee consisted of Cheryl Gosman, NHA's executive director, Steve Merritt, NHA consultant, a local housing development expert, Rhonda Spector, and then Jessica Reese, an NHA resident, and myself as part of the CHA development consulting team. And so the selection, there was a criteria that was established in the RFP to rank the different teams that had submitted as part of the RFP. And so they were essentially evaluated based on a couple of items. First of all was the proposal that they submitted. The second aspect was interviews. So they were all invited to interview for the job, and they all accepted to do that. And then also looking at references that were provided for the different firms, and the criteria that was outlined in the RFP, which looked at their abilities. So what is the strength of their team? What is their experience? Have they done this type of modernization before? Have they worked on modernization projects that relate to affordable housing and that also have parts of the property that are occupied during construction? Have they done resident engagement? Also looking at diversity of the teams, the quality of their interviews and proposals, and then also the references. So taking all of that into consideration, there were 2 architectural firms that rose to the top, and there was a lot of really good discussion among the committee about which one should proceed as the finalists. Those 2 were BH+A Architects, that's Bergman Henry and Archetype, typically called BH+A, as well as Studio G Architects. BH+A may be familiar to the Board of Commissioners because they're also the architectural team for the redevelopment of Linden Street and Chambers Street. So what was found was the committee was very impressed by BH+A's proposal and interview. They have a lot of significant experience doing precisely the type of work that will be done at Seabeds Way and Captain Robert Cook. They've worked on a lot of affordable housing and public housing modernizations. They listed as part of their proposal 7 comparable projects that resulted in the modernization of 951 units for a total of $322 million in construction costs. They're also one of the larger firms that submitted. So they have a lot of, they have a deep bench with a lot of experience. They have a team of 40, and out of those 40, there are 17 licensed architects. And the proposal that they presented in the interview was very tailored to the two properties, looking at specific issues that they will, if they are selected, that they will have to explore with NHA staff and residents moving forward. Studio G2, the committee was very impressed by their interview and their proposal. They are a WBE firm, and they presented a very strong firm ethos around sustainability and resident engagement. Ultimately, they had a little less experience on with the type of work that this RFP is focused on, so modernization of public housing. And so the selection committee recommended that that we proceed with Bargman Henry plus archetype. So the way that the RFP was written was, once you had the top scoring architectural firm, then you could ask that architectural firm for a fee proposal. So Bargman Henry and Archetype, they were notified that they were the top scoring architectural firm. They provided a fee proposal, and then we engaged in a negotiation with them to bring down that fee proposal to a total of 1.799 million. And that's essentially the total, the full scope of work for the A&E part of the modernization. So that's starting off to work by looking at the existing conditions, doing a supplemental property conditions report to the property conditions report that was already completed, working with residents to survey for various issues, what they like about their units, what they don't like, what needs to be explored further, working with the NHA team to select a scope of work. So what will be modernized as part of the project, then doing the construction documents, assisting with bidding, so getting a contractor on board. Then finally, during the actual construction, doing construction administration, and then close out as the whole project is coming to an end. So based on looking at other A&E fees of comparable projects that we have at the Cambridge Housing Authority, we felt that that was an acceptable fee for a project of this scope and scale. And the memo that we submitted goes through some of the sources that are available at the NHA to fund the A&E fees and some of the associated pre-development costs. So that's both some awarded CPA funds, in total of roughly 240,000. There's 312,000 in capital fund program that, as part of the PRI budget update that we did, the Board of Commissioners voted to allow for its use as part of the PRI program. And then there's roughly 158,000 in uncommitted NHA investment funds accounts. So all of that together covers the schematic design portion of the project. There's still more funding that we're looking to kind of finalize and dedicate to this project in order to get through to the end of construction closing. So as part of that, we'll be looking at deferred developer fee payments that should have been made to High Rock Homes LLC as part of that redevelopment, as well as cash flow payments. But as part of the RFP, there was a contract that was sent out to all of the interested firms, and there's language in that contract that essentially allows the NHA to suspend the project if it finds that there's not enough resources to cover the work. And the contract, just one last point related to that. So we sent that out as part of the RFP. BHPSA have noted some small discrepancies on the cost estimating that would be required as part of the project. And so we will be updating it based on that, but we essentially have a contract that NHA staff and BHPSA are happy to move forward with. So having said all of that together, that is essentially the recommendation that was made by the designer selection committee for Seabed Swing, Captain Robert Cook, to ask the NHA Board of Commissioners to approve Bergman Henry plus Archetype as the A&E team to lead the modernization of Seabed Swing, Captain Robert Cook Drive, and to authorize Cheryl Gosman as the executive director to sign a contract with them for a total of $1.799 million.
Great, thank you very much. I think we've lost our video on the owl here. Why don't you try turning your video on again? I'm not quite sure how it's doing this. It must be communicating wirelessly. That's what it is.
Okay.
Something you never knew there. Okay.
It's back.
So, great. I am going to now open the floor to questions from any of the commissioners. Let me start with you, Penny, down just randomly here, or Ed?
Well,
Sure.
I read the entire report this afternoon, so I didn't really feel it was necessary to go into all those details, except to point out what the cost was going to be. And
Mhm.
the only thing I got out of that, which is maybe.
Great. Sorry to have overdone it then. Ed, any
Yeah,
questions?
I read the report also and pretty much the same information. Not that we don't appreciate it for effort.
Yeah. And Janice, do you have any questions at all?
Yeah, I have a, I have a concern, and I think I spoke with it about it to Cheryl the other day. And Natalie just alluded to it also. The fact that if it comes up, we come up short, we don't have enough money to go forward with seabeds and captains, where's that gonna leave us?
So on Natalie or Margaret, can you address that? The strategy for getting the rest of the pre-development funds, and then are you asking about also the money to do the construction as well?
Well, I'm basically questioning the 260,000 per unit, whether that's gonna be enough, or whether they can shift it around to maybe units that maybe don't need that much. But just the fact that I've been here for 24 years and knowing how good I've preserved my unit, and seeing other units. And as much as I've preserved my unit, I mean, I still have every single door, closet door, except for one. But there's still a lot of work. I mean,
So, Margaret, maybe you could, I think I hear Shannon saying the concern is that we're going to get into this and then not be able to get the tens of millions of dollars we need to fix everything up.
and my other thing is, I just don't want it to see it go in phases. Phases, like phase 1, phase 2, because we've tried that, and like I still have the same kitchen for 24 years.
So the key strategy for us to get the funds needed to do all of the work that needs to happen both at Captain Robert Cook and Seabeds is to access funds through the low-income housing tax credit program, because that's where the largest funds are available to support and preserve and protect current affordable housing. And the good news about that is it doesn't really lend itself to going in phases, Janice, because it's better to close one transaction for every single unit than it is to close 3 transactions or 4 transactions for 5 or 6 units. And so you really want to, move forward with, most likely it could be a combination of both Seabeds and Captain Robert Cook moving forward together and closing on all 76 in total. But that will, the use of the low-income housing tax credit program really opens up the door to the kind of money that we need to do the kind of deep renovation that the property needs, given that it's now approaching over 40 years old. And as you've noted, many of the conditions or finishes or component pieces are original to the original construction. And then we have some inherent issues like with the siding, with the ventilation that really will need to be fixed as well. So the path that we're taking you on is really intended to do one full project that covers all the units at Captain Robert Cook. And if it's combined with Seabeds at Seabeds as well, and to make sure that all the work gets done up front, which is kind of a luxury given, the world that we used to live in, which is that you'd only get enough money to do 5 kitchens or 5 bathrooms. This is really intended to fix everything.
Yeah, well, thank you, Margaret. And my original concern was with the cracks in the concrete.
Yeah.
So that's another issue.
Yeah,
that I'd like to be addressed. I mean, I'm really waiting for somebody to come into each and every unit and see what they have to say after that, because there's no sense in projecting, because it's every unit's going to have a different issue, maybe a lot of the same issues is what I'm saying.
And I mean, and ideally, it's been my experience that, if you say only replace 18 kitchens instead of 30, because 12 of them got replaced 10 years ago or 5 years ago, whenever they were replaced, trying to keep track of which ones were completed, which ones weren't. It's just better to complete and replace all 30 units if you have the resources to do that. And, that will be something that we'll be looking to try to achieve.
They did go in one phase, and then they went, and then they turned it into as the units were turned over. So they never really got to phase 2.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm afraid is going to happen. They may go unit by unit again, and some people could be stuck with nothing.
Yeah, but the good news is that we will know exactly what we're buying up front, and it will be a very open and transparent process with the residents, so that there won't be any surprises. And if tough decisions have to be made, and my hope is that we'll have ample funding to do the full scope of everything that's needed at Captain Robert Cook without having to make tough decisions. We'll be certainly consulting with the residents and getting the feedback and input that will be invaluable.
Okay, and I have one more question. If in fact there does become a shortfall in any way, shape, or form, will they be not maybe doing over a couple of say a block of the units? Would it come to that?
Most likely not, because one of the key tenets, key requirements of the RAD program is to demonstrate the entire property can meet, and all of the units within the property can meet a 20-year viability test, so that you have to show as part of your transition to the RAD program the ability to finance and complete all of the work that needs to happen, not only immediately, but over the next 20 years. And if you can't put together a financing plan that shows that, then you're not going to be able to move forward. And all I can say is, I've done 14 RAD conversions in Cambridge, and we've been able to get all 14 of them fully funded to get the right scope of work to meet that 20-year viability study. So I feel confident that we'd be able to achieve the same with you and do the deep renovations that the property does require.
Thank you, Margaret. These were just not my questions. They were questions that
love the questions, Janice. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
That's great. Do you have any comments, Cheryl, you want to make, or questions for our Cambridge people?
I do not.
Okay. Then I think I will You notice in the last page of the memo that you referenced, there's a recommended motion for us to read into the record. Would one of you like to make the motion on the very last page? Go ahead, Penny Kirk. Yeah, just read it verbatim.
That the executive director of the New Housing Authority or who designate is hereby authorized to enter into an architectural engineer contract for the modernization at Claxton Robert Cook Drive and Seabed Way with Bardman, Henry, and Uptight of Boston, Massachusetts, in the amount of 1.791 million pursuant to the August 16th, 2023 memorandum from John Jansen and Christopher Moyer to Cheryl Dodson.
I second.
Okay, Janice seconds. Thank you very much. I'm going to offer one swipe tweak to that motion that I didn't notice until you just read it right now, which is I think it would, given the trouble that we had with our CPA funding, I'd like to say the preservation and modernization at Captain Robert Cook Drive and Seabed Way. If that's okay with the mover and the seconder. Okay, great. Great. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Reg Foster votes in favor of this motion.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Pent votes aye.
And Eleanor Evans is not with us tonight, but I understood you got a text or
I
something from
did.
Eleanor, which I
I
just,
read.
no, sorry. So I just want to,
Yeah,
um,
Eleanor is not able to attend this evening, but even though I can't be at the meeting tonight and can't vote, I wanted to let you and the board know that I agree with the decision with the selection committee's recommendation to enter into a contract with BH+A. Eleanor.
okay, just thought everybody'd like to hear that. Then another, just one more minute on this. I understand Natalie and Cheryl and Margaret that the next step is obviously to finalize that contract and sign it, which Cheryl will be doing that on behalf of the Housing Authority. And then start two things I think are next steps, which is to look for some kind of kickoff meeting date, sometime mid-September, scheduling the meeting. They have a whole team. So there's a lot of people kind of to meet Cheryl and her staff and so forth. And then I believe the plan is also to have an early resident meeting, an introductory meeting like we did at Linden Chambers, if you folks can remember back that far into January or so. And again, I'm thinking about the initial comments we got tonight from Ross and from Sue, where, you know, these are real human beings that are doing this, and maybe it'll help a little bit with some of the issues that they reported if we, you know, really bend over to backwards to try to make sure that everybody gets to know what's going on and gets to express their concerns and get their questions answered. And I'm talking about the residents, so that will happen hopefully sometime next month as well. Okay, back to the agenda. We are agenda item number 3. I have a status report, which is for looking for a legal counsel to negotiate a partner development agreement. The subcommittee consisting of Cheryl, Eleanor Evans, Jonathan Driscoll, our legal counsel, and myself interviewed 3 very highly qualified candidates. We were lucky to have 3 great choices. The last interview took place on Tuesday afternoon, 2 days ago. And the committee met afterwards and were unanimous in feeling that one of the 3 very highly qualified firms and these sets of individuals was clearly the best match for us. I'm not going to announce who that is now because, first of all, we have to write up a report to the board, and secondly, and then present that to the board. And actually we'll be seeking, before we close tonight, there are a couple other things going on. Maybe if we can have another special board meeting before mid-September. But I think, would you agree, Cheryl, that we felt really comfortable with the final choice here.
Yes, absolutely. I did like all three candidates. I thought, as you know, they were great. The candidates were just a lot of experience they brought to the table. It was a great meeting, and we'll write up a report.
Okay, so stay tuned for that. PRI budget update that goes, there is, as it was noted in the recommendation memorandum for Bargman, BH and plus A, I can never get their whole name here. We've still got some closing of the gap for the funding of that and other things. And our consultants and team have been, and Cheryl have been working on that. And we have not anything to report tonight, except that we know exactly how much this part of the budget is going to cost. And that was something that we didn't know until today. Stay tuned, and it'll be on our agenda for next month there. And then we have the CHA monthly report. Are there any questions that anybody has while we still have our Cambridge people with us here tonight? No questions? Okay. Cheryl, I'm going to ask you to maybe do agenda item D4 out of order.
Okay.
Because this is related to putting the application in for our repositioning funding, which is, knock on wood, hopefully going to be submitted in September.
Okay.
What's the status of the finalization of the NHA federal 5-year plan here? It's a 5-year PHA plan here.
So the 5-year PHA plan is 98% complete. Natalie and I have worked on adding information about the work we're doing with Cambridge Housing Authority to redevelop our properties. And that has been extremely helpful. The RAB board, and I plan to convene another meeting with the RAB board, and then we'll have our final public hearing when a full NHA board is present. And we'll submit the plan to HUD at that time. The Cambridge Housing Authority will review it one more time for me, and then we'll submit that plan to HUD. It's right on track. The only thing that's missing is the sign off from the town. The town manager needs to sign off on the consolidated plan. So that's about the only thing that's missing. The very last page has fair housing, has an option to include fair housing goals. And because it's an option, we don't have to submit it. I'm not going to do that. We do have a fair housing marketing plan that the board approved in December, but I'm just going to not complicate things by adding that information and leaving it with the information that we have. But we do have all the elements of the plan in place per HUD requirements. And as I said, it's about 98% complete. I'm going to update the plan and send it out again for everyone's review, and then we'll be prepared for a public hearing early September, if not end of October. I'm sorry, end of September, end of August. I apologize for that.
So what Cheryl is saying is this is a third thing that we want to get done before our next regular meeting mid-September. So the three things are, number one, to receive a report, the recommendations for the legal services that we need. The second one is to approve the 5-year, have the hearing for the 5-year plan. And we've been told that we can have the hearing for the 5-year plan, and if there are no major changes or anything else that comes up, then following that, in the same meeting, we can approve the 5-year plan. And the third thing that's teed up is Cambridge is working in parallel on the applications for the repositioning. These are the actual documents that go into the HUD that starts the process there, the 90-day process, 90 to 100-day, 100-day, 20-day process, which actually gets the repositioning approved. And then if we can, when we can get construction going, then it opens up the financial, increased financial subsidy, which is calculated to be nearly $1 million more on top of what we, per year, on top of what we already get then. And that then becomes an instrumental part of closing on the seabeds and Cook preservation and modernization here. So the hope is that we can have one special board meeting with all those four agenda items on it. And of course, Eleanor took off on vacation today. And she's back on the 30th. We checked with her before she went. She's available to meet starting the 31st, which is a Thursday. I understand you folks may have some travel plans. September 1st for a meeting or not a meeting, you know, you're traveling. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the calendars here quickly. September 1st is a Friday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that puts us into the Labor Day weekend, so we can't meet before Tuesday the 5th. Does that work for everybody that's here? Okay. Then let's try to earmark Tuesday the 5th. I think the three of us and Janice, if I would speak for us here, Janice,
Yeah,
are
what time?
to meet during the day, and so we just do you have any constraints on a daytime meeting or an early evening meeting there? Okay,
Not to my knowledge.
all right.
No, I'm looking at, midday, afternoon,
Right.
or even 10 a.m., 11 a.m. I don't care.
We'll try to reach Eleanor and or talk to her assistant and see if we can get something on the calendar for everybody. We'll let you all know what that turns out to be. So that is the 5th of September. Okay. Note on this, September 5th. Great. I don't think we have anything more for you, Margaret, and Natalie and Chris. So thank you very much for everything you've been doing for us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, and good evening.
Thank you,
Have a nice-
Margaret.
Yeah,
Thank you,
bye.
Jen,
Bye-bye.
Keep up the good work. Okay.
Natalie.
Now we go back to the regular agenda here. We're not doing too badly here, I think. So I'm on agenda item A, which is the review and approval of the NHA bill schedule and check warrant of $573,541.35. I make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Second from Penny. Any questions on any of the items?
No.
Janice,
No.
any questions?
No
Okay.
questions.
Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye,
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
and that passes 4-0. Now we're going to review and approve the H High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule check warrant of $39,520.41.
Second.
I make a motion to approve it. We have a second from Janice. Sorry. And any questions, from anybody?
No.
No questions from anybody. I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And that passes 4-0. All right, our next agenda item is over to Cheryl. Next couple of agenda items here.
Okay.
We have in our plan, in our massive board packet, the 2024 draft state annual plan, and get an update from Cheryl on where we're at on that.
Can I just
Right.
say one thing about the packet?
Yes,
Okay, sorry, Cheryl, but I think it was great that you included all of those languages in the packet. Just so the residents can feel more included. It's so good for them. I'm glad for that. So thank you.
and I'm not trying to make fun of Cheryl, by the way. The moment I got that packet, I sent her an email saying, man, wow,
No lifting weights today.
That's right.
Yes, this time last year, we were presented with the annual plan. I worked on it with Beth Thompson from the HCD. She was extremely helpful to me. So I'll start with that if you don't
Go
mind.
ahead.
Okay,
Please.
okay, so as you know, so the plan, you don't know, but I'm going to tell you, the plan is posted in our office. It's on our website. It's here in the Linden Chambers Community Room.
Over here.
Yep, on the binder. And the plan includes the overall certification, capital and maintenance and repair, operating budget, narrative responses to the performance management review, PMR, policies, waivers, glossary, and other items. I'm gonna sound like a nerd, I think, but I really enjoy the plans because it's sort of a roadmap for the agency on operations and it keeps everybody on track and on what to do and what's expected. So this is just a draft. It's for review. There's no comment on it tonight. We hope to vote on the plan at our September 15th meeting. But it's an opportunity for residents to review the plan, make any comments that they may have on the plan. There are a couple of typos in the plan. One is on page 53 in terms of the number of federally assisted public housing units, which really are 259, not 256. So we'll make that change. Beth and I will make the changes to the plan. As you know, there are 123 vouchers, 30 units at Captain Robert Cook Drive, 46 at Seabeds Way, 60 at High Rock Estates. Also, our wonderful, amazing Commissioner Penny Burke, her term is not listed correctly, and we'll change that as well. So, are there any questions?
Yes, can I just
Sure.
remind you of Ross's question about the $18 million for Linden Chambers that was in there?
Yes. And what are you reminding me about?
Well, Ross said, what is this thing? $18 million.
It's a placeholder.
Yeah, okay.
It's really a placeholder. DHCD has included that in our capital budget. It's recorded in Cap Hub. And we are going to hold their feet over the fire for that 18 million.
Well, it doesn't mean they've actually awarded it. Yes, they have not actually, it's a
I'm
placeholder,
sorry,
right?
It is a placeholder.
Yeah,
I
right.
apologize.
Yeah,
Out of
so,
line.
but it means we're on their radar
We're
screen.
on their radar screen, exactly.
And it will get replaced with actual numbers when actual numbers take place.
Exactly, and we will have conversations with the HCD to move that along to make sure that the everyone involved on that is doing their share to move that forward. Yeah, did you have another question, Ross, about that?
That was the only one we had, so, any questions from you, Penny or Ed? No. Okay. Any questions, Janice?
Not right now. Thank you.
So I think we can, I will just actually add one more thing I just thought of here, which is, you will note, you remember we had the discussion of the PMR exceptions last year.
Yeah.
And you will see that the minutes have been updated to be a little bit more accurate, that we're going to be improving today. But also in that plan are the PMR exceptions, are in that plan along with our corrective action plan that is we're going to be doing. So I just wanted to bring the board's attention to that.
That's right.
Because I want everybody at
Right.
EOHCL
Executive Office of
to
Housing
know that we
and-
take that seriously and that we review that every month, and Cheryl's already on top of it here.
Yes, those PMR comments are part of the draft plan.
Reg, it's the Executive Office of Housing
And
and Livable Communities.
ELC.
Oh,
Yeah, we've got to keep practicing because it's going to take me forever to get used to saying that.
I
here.
thought DHCD was a little bit of a say it 3 times fast, but this is even worse.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think they could have come up with a better acronym that you could say in one word here, but anyway.
And so the monthly financial report from our fee account.
Yeah, let's go into D and all your D agenda items here.
Yeah. So I just want to point something out. I'm being completely transparent. On page 128, you will notice that there is a accounts receivable, DHCD, for $156,285.
So that accounts receivable means they owe us money,
Thank you.
right?
It's Mr. Chair. Exactly right.
And so, yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out. For some reason, they have not been putting money into our bank account as they should. And it could cause our reserves to dip below 35%. We're currently at 35.1% in our
It says
state reserve.
34.46 at the bottom of the page.
Okay, 34.46. So it's just at 35%, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so this money is actually going to get deposited into our bank account where it belongs. I spoke with our fee accountant and he contacted the person who's responsible for doing that. He sent him an email. He CC'd me on that email. And the person did respond that he's looking into that and will take care of it.
Okay.
So that's all I really wanted to
I have a
point.
question.
Sure. Okay.
On page 135,
Mm-hmm.
under income.
Yeah.
We have an operating subsidy, shortage of $76,840. Is that money that DHCD owes us?
No. So on page 135,
Yeah.
operating subsidy.
Under operating receipts.
That's High Rock.
Line 3,400.
This is the High Rock Homes here, I believe, right?
Well, this is our federal program and it's a combine of Seabeds, High Rock and Captain Robert Cook. So it's 136 units.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And where you see
Here, let me show you.
operating income.
He's,
Sorry.
it's a variance to our budget.
Yeah.
Account 3,400.
This right here, Rich?
This one here, I'm circled it. here.
76,840. Under.
Yes. That means we received, we have in the budget, if you go from left to right,
Mm-hmm.
we should have, the total budget is 632,694.
Mhm.
We should have received by now 316,347.
Mm-hmm.
But we've only received 239,507.
Mm-hmm.
And so some reason we've received 76,840 less than we expected by this time of the year.
Okay. I know that we've made some payments to our contractor, but I will look into that and that one I missed.
This wouldn't be a payment. This would be money coming in from the feds.
Yep.
And I've seen this occur from time to time, but it may not be the explanation.
Yeah.
Where the way this pro rata budget is done is they just divide the overall amount by
No,
12.
I understand that. My question is operating subsidy. Is operating subsidy the money that DHCD gives us to support the operating costs?
Right. In this case, this is HUD, what HUD gives us to support the operating
Excellent.
costs. Yeah.
That's the same.
Yeah.
So then the question follows, this is money that they owe us that they haven't paid us yet.
That could be right. But again, there's a lot going on. And, you know, I have to really sort of drill down on that because I know it's not a payment, but we did make a $146,000 payment to our roof contractor. That wouldn't do that.
This
And then,
is supposed to be coming to us if I understand it correctly.
yeah, I have to look into that. Okay.
Let me just say, I've seen this happen because of timing of things. Just because you divide it by, if this is month 8, so you divide it by 12 and multiply it by 8,
I understand.
it might be coming in next month, you know, but you can, Cheryl, would you, if
Yeah.
you wouldn't mind,
Yeah. I will,
letting everybody know.
I will absolutely let everyone
No,
know.
it's a very big number, yeah. It sticks right out. Any other questions from anybody?
I had management report.
Okay.
Page.
Page 144,
Okay.
the occupancy for Captain Robert Drive.
Yeah.
This is just being attached to what before, but number 42 has been on for more than a year.
Yes, number 42.
And, any projection there?
For Captain Robert Cook Drive? Yeah, I did plan to talk about that later in the meeting. I can talk about it now if you like.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so Captain Robert Cook Drive, we're moving right along. I've hired a plumber. I've sought 3 quotes for plumbing services for Captain Robert Cook Drive. And I've hired EB Mechanical to do the work there. So what happened at Captain Robert Cook Drive, why we need a plumber and why that plumber is costing so much is because when the washer and dryer hookup was shut off at Captain Robert Cook Drive, for some reason, cement was poured into the floor under that pipe. So we had to have someone had to jack that cement away, and then a camera had to go. And I'm really shorten the work that, you know, the description of the work that has been done, but we have a USB that shows that a camera went through and took pictures of the pipe to ensure that there's no clogging. And they did that for up to, I think, 15 feet. So the plumber was satisfied that there is no other issue that may come up. And then he has to tie the lines back in. So that's what's happening there with Captain Robert Cook Drive. But, you know, as I said, the plumber, EV Mechanical, is great. And he came to me highly recommended. But I did seek out 2 other quotations for that work. And then we have a carpenter that will will finish up the work. I'm currently working on getting 2 more quotes for him, but he is going to sort of rebuild the laundry wall there, just that half space, and do the painting and all of the carpentry work that needs to be done in that unit. I think that this unit will be ready by October. That's what I'm thinking, because these guys are great. The only thing that's holding things up right now is me getting the paperwork to you to sign the contracts for the work. So both projects are over $10,000, and our procurement policy requires the board to sign off on the contracts.
Well,
So I'll add that to the special meeting.
feel free to add it to the the September 5th meeting.
September 5th meeting.
And I gotta say, looking at you 2 commissioners, fellow commissioners, that that saying, no good deed goes unpunished, trying to get this thing back into service. I think we're really taking our licks here. Too bad.
I just want to chime in a little bit here on that. I just want to say that I think they poured the concrete instead of capping it is because they knew it was going to be an after-school program in a community space. But I think it would have been so much easier just to cap that when they removed that wall.
Yeah, I was surprised when I had the first plumber come in. I think he was kind of spooked about the job because he thought it would require so much work. And the second plumber, he did a great job of looking at the scope of the job, but I felt that he was sort of that the job would require more work than what he was presenting to us. And the third plumber came highly recommended, and he's very experienced, and I'm pleased with the work that he's done so far. We're also going to replace the countertops and cabinets in that space as well. And the plumber will help us with that, with, doing all the electrical work. But the carpenter that's on board, he's a young man, and he's doing the work for us presently at Seabed's Way to do that kitchen cabinet work over. So he's very enthusiastic, and once he gets going, he just moves right through. He does work. He has a good team, and I'm confident that we'll have that unit ready by October 1st. I think NHA has a family that is ready to go. So that's that. I'm really excited about that.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Two other quick questions.
Mm.
Sure. Number page 146, I see that there's the two-bed way, there's a balance of 5,463 over 90 days. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 down.
Yeah.
And then just question, is that one person or that?
So there's we've run into a little bit of problem with our legal team addressing the matters to bring these residents into court. And it's causing some of the bills to increase. I've actually called them out on them. It's, we have to move this. It's not fair to the residents. By the time you get around to addressing this, it's expired. You have to do it again, and it causes an increase in the roll. But there are a few tenants that we do have to take to court for non-payment of rent.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then on page 150, I think this is again the same thing. Anyway,
150?
under the quantifiable goals of objectives that will enable and enable the city need as well as capital. On to the third and fourth bullet, the third bullet. Because of something that comes to my attention, I read this in a different way, and I wondered if residents of Needham, immigrants or refugees get any priority
Do they have a priority?
to go through this state thing that,
Yeah.
it used to be that if a person was a resident of Needham that needed to live in housing, they had priority over someone else coming up to town.
Right. Mhm.
But then they've also become aware that there are some refugees here in town who might need this kind of housing and would because of the fact that they're refugees.
And so that would result in a change to our admissions and continuing occupancy policy that we would bring before you. We're updating that policy now, and that's something I could put before my staff, Nada, Curtis, and Blair, if this is something that we want to consider. But ultimately, it would result in a change in the policy to include that preference. I don't have in front of me what our preferences are. I think we have 4. So that when residents apply to the state has Mass Narrow, I think it is, has a Section 8, a public housing waiting list. And then, we have our own. So NHA does an excellent job of monitoring that and making sure that, she's following all the guidelines. But that's a really good point. I could talk to you more about the preferences offline, but I'm making a note, and that I can bring that up with NHA and we can touch base about it. Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to Needham Housing Authority 75th anniversary report.
Yeah.
Update.
So that's coming along very nicely. It looks like we have a date. Is everything okay?
Bedtime.
We have a date set for October 12th for our 75th anniversary report, gala, if you will. I think that's a Thursday. And we're developing the invitations. We thought about doing a magnet and sending them out to people, save the date, but we're actually going to do invites. Beautiful little design that we have that we're finalizing. The location will be the Needham Golf Club. We're working on a slideshow presentation for the event. And we would like to honor Steve with a plaque at the event for his service to Needham Housing Authority as interim executive director. So we're working on the agenda for the event right now. We have a nice menu. We're looking to partner with the school department to have some string music going on in the background. So it's coming along really nicely. You can see the logo. We're starting to use the logo in everything that we do now. We have our guys, our maintenance staff had new t-shirts with the logo and new hats. So that's coming along really nicely.
What time of day are you targeting?
I don't have that in front of me, but it's an earlier around the dinner hour
Like
time.
6 to 8 or something.
Or
like
4
that.
to, I think we're starting at 4, so, but, yeah. So people won't have to leave and come back, they're in town, they're working, etc. So those plans are coming along very nicely. There. Mhm.
Probably know this, and Gloria Grease.
Yeah, Gloria Grace, yep, yes. Yes, she's on vacation. We've reached out to her. She's on vacation, so we do plan on catching up with her.
I'm gonna just put a placeholder in for 4 to 6
Okay.
on the 12th.
Yeah.
Thursday of October. Have you given thought of who might be inviting outside of our family, or like
In town
select board people?
officials, yeah,
Denise
town
Garlick,
officials,
have you given any thought to that?
yeah, a lot of thought, and also former
Commissioners
commissioners
and executive directors.
and executive directors, yeah.
Mm.
So we haven't actually drilled down on the invite list, but we're getting there.
So what I'm thinking is it's like less than 2 months from now.
Yeah.
And those are all busy people,
Right,
busy schedules.
get them on their
And if
calendar.
we now know the time and the date.
Yeah.
That it's pretty important to sooner rather than later, reach out to their staff or whomever, Kate Fitzpatrick. I mean, all those people have just jam-packed schedules.
Yeah.
They'll want to come.
Yeah.
And if we don't let them know, and I'm just wondering whether, Penny, you know about everybody, whether maybe you could whip together, work with Cheryl if you want any help with this,
Yeah.
a list of people.
I mean, if you have time, Penny.
I mean, we
I'd
don't
love to see you.
necessarily, the leadership of Needham, I think, needs it. And I can even think of people like Mo Handel, who would want to be invited. I don't want to get into a situation where we don't invite somebody and then they get their nose out of joint, because we didn't think of them. And I think we sort of have to have a little subcommittee to help Cheryl get the invite list going. We should do a round robin in the next few days.
Yeah.
So
I'll be on that committee.
yeah. So I'm just saying, I think we have a round robin, where we're just, we have start a spreadsheet,
That's a great idea.
just of the names.
Let's get a committee, let's get an agenda, let's get it done. This is important.
Well, it's, Carol's got a committee, I'm just thinking just this name list, this
Subcommittee.
invite list
Right.
here, right?
What were you saying?
Using town that are to go by leaders
Mhm.
and, like progressive Needham and.
Yeah.
All of those.
Well, and let's remember, we're gonna be asking them for several millions of dollars at town meeting next May, and we don't kind of want to get somebody's nose out of joint, by mistake here.
Okay,
Okay. that's
Great.
fine.
All right.
thank you.
All right,
you,
moving
thank you.
along,
Moving on.
we've talked about D6, the PMR corrective action plan. Is there anything else you want to add about that, or?
No, that corrective action plan that's in the state annual plan is sort of just a what we will do. I will actually have to do the things in terms of the recommendations from the state, and then bring that before the board and submit it to DHCD.
Okay. And D7,
Or-
any sign of
Second office.
the audit, the 22 audit?
No, we have not had any, there are some items that Tim Mashante from Markham has asked our bookkeeper to get to him, so he's pulling together that information now. There was a letter that he referred to that he noticed in the September 15, 2022 meeting, that the board had received correspondence from HUD on the High Rock audit, and he wanted to see that letter, which I can't find. I couldn't find it in any of the packets. So I'm working on trying to locate that letter for
What's the date?
Tim.
September.
September 15th meeting. It was initially discussed or mentioned
Mhm.
that HUD had commented on the High Rock audit. And then it was brought up again in October and then dropped so to speak in November. So I'm actually looking for the letter.
I'll look for it, see if
Okay.
I've got it scrolled away somewhere.
All right. And
But we did, Carol and I got back to them and said, we noticed the, High Rock Homes exception, notes in there, and so we wanted to meet. And they agreed that it made sense to wait until we got the NHA, 22 audit, and then meet on both of them at the same time. So that's in the to-do list.
Yeah.
And the other thing I just want to let the board know is, talking with Cambridge Housing Authority, everybody thought it would be a good idea to have a separate meeting with the auditor to just give them an annual PRI update, because here we are about to tear everything down or renovate everything and preserve everything. And here we are maybe taking some surplus reserves from High Rock Homes and repurposing them for this. And we should give them an update as to what's going on here. So that's a separate meeting that's now scheduled towards the end of this month or next week, actually.
Yeah.
And
so the last thing is, I'm just going to pass this card down. I just want to shout out again to Commissioner Kirk, who's probably sick of me, and all the work that she's done for our small little community and in bringing about these great programs that we had the wonderful pleasure to enjoy over the winter and spring. And Denise Garlick sent us a note congratulating that work. And that really was Penny's work. She put in a lot of time and effort and energy in submitting the Mass Cultural Council grant that brought us programming last winter and last spring. So I just want to thank you for that. And I wanted you to see that. Okay.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
Okay, so any other questions for Cheryl?
That's it for me.
All right, well, we get to skip over E because we've done it already. And so back to Cheryl again, F1. Roofing, how's things going with the roofing project?
So the roofing project is going, it's going along at a good clip. They're almost finished. They're working on the last row of buildings. Can you see what they're doing, Janice, over there?
Yeah, I was just gonna chime in, Cheryl, because of course I have the bird's eye view.
Yeah.
in the wake up call. But it is, they're on the last block, and now I think they've even started the punch list on certain blocks. Yeah, they're finishing up, and they're a great group of guys. They are meticulously clean,
good.
with cleaning up after themselves on a daily basis. I don't have any complaints, and I haven't heard any from any residents.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know.
You don't have any moss growing out of the roof anymore? Great.
All good right now.
All right.
Just hope the paving comes in as good.
So F2, paving, speaking of paving.
Speaking of paving, so I'm going to start with Linden and Chambers. So I met with Katie, I'm gonna butcher her name, Adronka from Allen and Major, a civil engineering firm. They are also environmental consultants and land savers and land surveyors rather, and landscape architects. They're very well known. Katie comes highly recommended to me. I met with Katie and I met with Ben Oxender from EOHLC regarding the paving work. So we have EOHLC has a paving project in Cap Hub for 6671 and 6672, which is Linden Street. And they started the work, but they've allocated money to finish the work to the tune of 190K. So I invited them to the property to walk it through with me with the hopes of advocating that that money get reallocated to Chambers Street, which has a lot of potholes and curbing issues, and it really needs to work. And they did that. They came out, they looked at the property, they looked at the project, they took notes. I sent them some civil engineering work that the NHA did for us in their property conditions report to help them to sort of scope out the job. But Ben Oxender, who's a great person, a really nice guy, and he has the ability to advocate to move that project from Linden 6671, 6672 to Chambers 6673. So we can talk more about this on our special meeting. I will send you their schematic design and their cost estimates for this work that DHCD has already allocated 190K. And we don't know yet whether or not they will agree to reallocate that money to getting the asphalt and walkways at Chambers done. There is some work that needs to be done on the walkways at Linden. And I have a small amount of money that I can contact a local person to come in and do some of that mitigation work. They agreed that the Linden 6671 and 2 are in pretty good shape. There are some areas in the walkways that do need to be addressed, but the parking is not in dire condition as it is at Chambers. So, so that's that.
And everybody, commissioners understand the larger problem that we're starting to face, which is we don't want to like repave something or redo something and just tear it down the next year, you know, but we don't want to lose the money either. And so the question is, we know we won't be getting to the 4 Chambers buildings for a few years. So, and we know those parking lots and the curbing are in bad shape. So we're, and we've spoken to our Chambers consultants, and they say it's not as automatic as it is in the federal side, but you can negotiate with DHCD and move money around to area, you know, from what they originally thought to something else. So Cheryl is working with them to sort of come up with some you know, logical things we might not want to consider in terms of changing our capital funds allocation.
Yeah. So Ben will work with the state in terms of redirecting that project to focus more on Chambers, on the parking and curbing at Chambers, and they both agreed that that's a higher priority. So that was very positive. I was happy about that, and happy that they took the time to come out and meet with me and walk the site. So the other parking issue is Seabed's Way, Captain Robert Cook Drive.
Can I just say something about that before we get into it? Cheryl, because I know it's gonna be a while before it happens, but I just want to say the parking lot, specifically mine, 56 and between 56 and 58. Excuse me. Again, we did have that water problem. Again, excuse me. for 3 years. And then last year they fixed it, but they had to dig up across the whole parking lot. And they did a great job. Thank God. They did a great job in getting rid of the water and fixing that underground pipe. But
Okay.
they did not do a good job in the cleanup, however.
Right.
Because right now we are left with a ton of rocks. I mean, I can't walk, I can't go down my sidewalk or my curbstone without stepping on rocks.
Yeah.
And this is not a work order problem. That whole parking lot needs to be, get rid of the rocks. I mean, it's just all rocks. And especially, I saw them last week when the other week, because they couldn't mow Jessica's lawn because of all the rocks that were flying and possibly injuring the maintenance staff, as well as rocks flying into windows. It's a big problem. I mean, I'd hate to step on a rock and go flying.
So, yeah, Cheryl, maybe you take this offline with Janice and
Yep.
see what
I
we
did
can
make
do.
a note, Janice, and we will work on getting that area cleaned up. I promise you that. You did mention that before. And I'll talk with Greg when he comes back.
Yeah.
But
It's a safety thing for me,
Yeah.
and I'd hate to see I've had rocks break through screens before, and it's a safety hazard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did make a note of that, and I will follow up with you on that. But in terms of the paving, I did, as you know, have been soliciting proposals from civil engineers for that work. And I was able to get 3 proposals, but again, Allen and Major comes out strong and highly recommended. And she and I walked that site. I selected her to do the work at the site, which I mentioned that we would be meeting tonight to discuss the paving contract for Captain Robert Cook Drive and Seabed's Way, but you don't have all the information in front of you, so I need to send that to you. And then we can discuss this at our special meeting and on whether or not we are going to enter into the contract based on the work that the estimate that she has put before us. Or if we're going to cut it back a little bit, because we will be moving forward with repositioning in the spring, and there's going to be a lot of activity up there. So maybe she may need to adjust her estimate to address some real immediate health and safety issues, particularly at Seabed's Way, which would cut the estimate down significantly. But I want you to just have a look at the estimate and the schematic designs, and I'll send that to you. And we can have a conversation about that at our special meeting. And I'll let Katie know that we are going to talk more about this, which might mean that we're gonna cut back on the scope of the job based on your advice and your opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to say more into it.
No,
'Cause,
it
yeah,
sounds.
I think it's
another example of this kind of decisions that we're gonna have to be smart about here. Because we can't just stop everything, cold,
yeah.
but we don't want to throw money away that we can use somewhere else here.
Right, and I don't really, I agree with you, Reg. I don't look at it as throwing the money away if they did the work. I do agree with you that we should just sort of redirect it.
So, bad turn of phrase, what I meant was, if we're just gonna dig up the paving a year later.
Yeah.
To put a new sewer line into one of those buildings.
Right, which
Then, we wanna save the money.
Yeah.
To then put it in after that sewer line is put in there, so.
Yeah.
But we do need to be careful about health and safety.
safety,
here. Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
All
for
right,
that.
so we've done F3, Unit 43, F4, Unit 42, sorry. And F4 is the Resident Opportunity and Self-Sufficiency Service Coordinator Grant Update.
Just a quick update. So these two women, Ann DeMonterosian and Kathy Berkeley, are doing a great job of getting the program up and running. They're meeting with residents. We had a cookout on the 10th, and they came to the cookout and was introduced to residents at that time. They have
Me and Sylvie on the whole thing.
Yeah, she's quite amazing. Kathy is really very, very good. And so
Yes, they both sought me out and they both had great proposals and I was highly impressed with the three of them, actually.
yes. And they're working on a needs assessment right now, survey. So the next step will be to do our little dog and pony show. We're going to have late meetings at Captain Robert Cook Drive and weekend meetings at Captain Robert Cook Drive and Seabed's Way to really, market the plan. We're working on a marketing plan, I guess, to put it out there so that folks know about them and, the great services that can come out of this program. The FSS coordinator is also doing a great job structuring the program. She has also come up with a needs assessment survey, and she's working well with our leasing staff in terms of, structuring the program to receive, to set up the program as an escrow account. So it's very exciting what's happening with these two great opportunities that will provide great services for our residents. It's really quite amazing, very humbling. And I think that's it for me.
Question?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Certainly very pleased that we received both of these grants. But that question of helping these, is there a difference between the two programs? For example, the Resident Opportunity and Self-Sufficiency, the program is designed to help individuals and families make progress toward economic self-sufficiency. And the FSS program, the program aims to help families increase their earnings, develop financial capability, and build assets. So are they overlapping to a great degree, or is there a significant difference between the two programs?
Yeah, so there's no overlap. They really are two distinct programs. The Ross Service Program has a mandate to work with partners, community partners in town, and to bring in-kind services. They have a mandate to reach out to at least 50 residents that they serve, and it's really matching them up with services that will be a benefit to them. Some of the overlap will occur when a resident has, I had introduced a resident to Kathy who she's working with, and she's working with this person to get her GED and most likely apply for nursing school. So when that resident applies to nursing school and she gets a job, she's probably going to transition to the FSS program, because the FSS program will help her establish a escrow account that will, as a result of her increased rent, that difference, that delta is going to go into the escrow account, and she'll build revenue. She'll build assets during the 5 years that she's in the program. So it's a pretty significant amount. So we're structuring that now, and Elena, is the perfect person to do that, with her MIT degree. So she's very, very good. And so we're moving right along. So that's the difference. I hope that answered your question. One really is an asset building program, which is the FSS, and the other one is just partnering people with the services that they need.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question, Cheryl. It's a different program, but the criteria may be different, but the benefit is the same. It's the Earned Income Disregard program, which is not required to have a grant.
Right.
And so, and so the resident with the Earned Income Disregard, they do not have to have 1 year not working or
Well,
graduation.
No, yeah, so they're eligible for earned income disregard if they haven't worked in a year
Yeah,
and then stop
okay.
working, and then their income is not considered, or their increased income is not considered for the first year and then phased in for the second year. Whereas the FSS, if they have increased income, they enter into a contract of participation with the FSS coordinator. And those monies go into a completely separate account that the Housing Authority manages, and it builds. It's sort of a forced savings account, if you will, on their behalf. They're, it's
Okay,
pretty,
so the FSS program has changed a little bit, or has the earned income disregard program changed? I don't think the earned income has changed. I think it's the FSS
right, the
program.
FSS is definitely a self-sufficiency program designed to reduce residents' reliance on government subsidy. That it's definitely designed to do that. The ultimate goal is that, we have home ownership programs, we have other programs.
Well, that's what it resembles. It resembles the home ownership program.
Yeah,
Yeah, the criteria is similar. But I'm more interested in the earned income disregard and qualifications.
well, and anyone in federally public housing is qualified for earned income disregard if they haven't worked in over a year, or if they're coming off of welfare.
Yeah,
So then they would be entitled to that. But the FSS it's a little different than earned income disregard. The requirements are not the same.
right.
So I'm gonna note the hour that we haven't quite reached 9:30, which is a good thing, by our normal track record, and I think we're at the end of the agenda. And so I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn.
I shall move.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second by Janice, and I'll call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Any third time?
Janice Bennett votes aye.
We are adjourned at 9:25 by the Linden.
Congratulations.
Good job.
All right.
Very good, Cheryl.
Given the
Cheryl, look-
size of that packet.
Well, look how well organized, and every page is numbered right. It's so easy to know from there.
Absolutely.
Printed on one side, that's one usually.
Well,
I know, I haven't quite got there yet because it moves
Don't
things,
complain.
it shifts things around a little bit.
All right. We are going to end this meeting here. Okay. Thank you, everybody.